Hey bed builders, want to give you a quick instructional video on the tools you're going to need, the parts you need to bring, and exactly how you're going to build a bed. You're going to need a ratchet with a 9/16 deep socket, or you can use a drill with a nut driver bit. You'll need that power drill. You'll need a hammer or a mallet. You'll need a T25 bit, which is what all of our screws use. I also like to bring a couple of extra bits in case I need to make bigger holes. This is a 1/2 inch bit, and this just any really, really small bit to help you drill a pilot hole. I also like to have a pen or a pencil handy. For each bed you're going to build, you're going to need 2 head footboards. They're identical pieces. They look just like this. You'll also need 2 side rails. That's the long pieces that has the brace on the bottom. And for each bed, you'll need 1 package of slats and 1 baggie of hardware. Now, if you're building bunk beds, you're going to need double of everything I just showed you, plus a couple other things. You're also going to need the ladder, a side rail support, and a different package of hardware specific for building bunk beds. So I've started the process. I have my 2 head footboards ready to go and 1 side rail in place. One thing to point out, on this headboard, there's a flush side and a concave side. You want the concave side facing towards the middle. I've already got 1 side rail on. Important note, the support bar is on the bottom and it's also facing the inside. So I'm going to put my second one on. It should fit right in the slots. Then I'm going to take my hardware. Every hole is going to get a carriage bolt, a washer, and a nut. Simply put my carriage bolt in the hole on the outside. They usually line up really well. If you have trouble getting it in there, quick tap with your hammer or your mallet. I'm going to put the washer on, and then with hand only, I'm going to get the nut started. I'm going to do that 2 times for every corner. So I'm going to use a total of 8 carriage bolts, washers, and nuts. So once I have everything set up, I'm going to go back with my socket wrench and I'm going to tighten all the carriage bolts. Feel free to use a drill if you have one of those instead. The next step is I've laid out the slats, and if you notice, the webbing is on the bottom and I have them fully stretched out. I'm going to take my really small drill bit. I'm going to run a pilot hole right at the end of the board so I don't crack the board. I'm going to do this on the end board on both sides as well as on the middle board. There's 7 total slats. Once I have my holes drilled, I'm going to change to that T25 Torx bit that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to run my screws in through those pilot holes that I made. So at this point, if you're only building a single bed, you're done. Put a mattress on it, put the bedding on it, and you're all good to go. And thank you so much for being willing to deliver and assemble these beds for these kids that need it the most. Now, some of you are going to be doing bunk beds. At this point, you're going to need to do this again, exactly the same way. Build your second bed, and I'm going to come back and show you how to make them a bunk bed. Okay, at this point, we have both beds built identically. Now, we're going to get them ready to stack. There's 4 of these pins in the bunk bed hardware, and they go right in the holes that are on the headboard on all 4 corners. The other bed has corresponding holes on the bottom of the legs that will receive the pin and hold them in place. Now, we're going to take this bed, we're going to lift it up, and we're going to stack it right on top of this bed. Once your bed's in place, you can see you may need to close that gap. If you can't close the gap by simply pulling on it, you might need to use your mallet or your hammer to tap it down. Got your bed in place, let me show you how to install the ladder. You're going to need your 2 mounting brackets. When you take your ladder, you have the dog ear side is going to be facing you. And you're simply going to hold it up on either side. It could be on the right side or the left side. Hold it up where the top is flush underneath the top cap, and then you're going to need to mark the back side. Now that I have my ladder in place, I'm going to make 2 marks right on the top of that rail so I know where my mounting brackets need to be installed. So I've put my mounting bracket flush with my line, and now I'm going to put in the 2 screws. You'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now we're going to install the safety rail. So I have my vertical support. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up with my center slat. I've pre-drilled 2 holes, and I'm going to attach this here. Once I've done that, I'm going to take my safety rail, using my vertical support to hold it in place. I'm going to make sure that it's flush with the end of the ladder so it doesn't stick out where the child is going to exit. Once I have that in place, I'm going to use 2 more screws to attach the safety rail to the vertical support that I just installed. Once again, I've dry measured this and I pre-drilled my holes for the screws. Always make sure to pilot hole. Once that's in place, I can now attach the end of the board to the end of the headboard. And I'll use the same 2 screws with piloted holes. Once I've done that, I'm going to go back and to the back side, screw the safety rail into the ladder. You're done. At this point, you have ready-made bunk beds. The last step, if you realize the back side is open, please always make sure that this bed is pushed up against the wall so a child can't fall off the back side. Drop your mattresses on, put the appropriate bedding on, and you just made bunk beds for 2 kids, and you're gonna make them very happy. Listen, thank you guys so much for being part of our bed delivery and assembly team. You have no idea the difference you're making. Thanks for watching.